My name is Alara Quinn, 28 years old. The ice rink glittered under chandelier light like someone had poured champagne over a mirror. The cold bit at my fingers as I carried the photo album I'd made by hand. 3 weeks of sleepless nights cutting and gluing memories no one had asked for. I wasn't invited. A last-minute text from my aunt had told me about my parents' 30th anniversary party here. I'd stared at that message for a long time before showing up anyway, wearing a dress that matched the rink's dull silver. Music swelled from hidden speakers. My mother, Helen, stood in the center of the crowd, her sequined gown catching every reflection like it needed to be the brightest thing in the room. Beside her, my father, Michael, adjusted his camera, forever the documentarian of moments that didn't include me. And next to them, center stage, arms looped through my mother's, my sister Jennifer smiled like she owned the place. Of course she did. Every family photo, every milestone, every toast had always orbited her. Jennifer with her advertising award. Jennifer on the front page of the local paper. Jennifer's latest brand deal. She was their living resume, proof they'd done something right. I was the line item that never made the print. I hovered at the edge of the rink, the chill climbing through my boots, my breath fogged in little bursts that disappeared faster than I could count them. I clutched the album tighter, feeling the edge of a bank transfer receipt I'd accidentally left tucked between pages. The same receipt I'd glimpsed mirrored earlier that week on my mother's phone. Transfer, $15,000. J.A. Creative. Her lock screen had glowed with it, bold and unashamed. It hadn't been the first. When I arrived, I'd set the photo album on the gift table beside glittering boxes wrapped by florists and boutiques. Mine looked homemade, plain, out of place. A few relatives glanced at it, then away, as if charity had a smell. I found a stack of plastic chairs near the wall and pulled one toward the rink's edge. The scraping sound cut through the music. Too loud, too real. I sat, my coat still on, watching Jennifer skate in small circles of praise. Vanessa, her best friend, glided toward me for a moment. Her balance wobbly, but her smile perfectly steady. "It's rough, huh?" she said softly, pretending sympathy. "Being sidelined?" I nodded, a small spark of hope rising. Maybe, for once, someone saw me. Then Vanessa called out brightly, "Jen, tell them about the campaign shoot in New York." She twirled away, her voice rejoining the chorus of laughter and glasses clinking. The rink's chill seeped through my skin, the noise blurring into a single note of being unseen. I traced the ridges of the chair beneath me, plastic biting at my fingers, the sound of my heartbeat mixing with the hum of the refrigeration units beneath the ice. When the DJ lowered the music, Helen raised her glass. Her diamond bracelet caught the light like it was choreographed. 30 years, she said, voice rich with practiced gratitude. 30 years of building something worth celebrating. I half expected a mention of both her daughters. Instead, her tone shifted, warmer, sharper. And tonight, we toast the child who has made this family truly proud. All eyes turned to Jennifer. The crowd clapped. Michael adjusted his lens, capturing her grin, his camera flashing like a metronome of favoritism. "The pride of our family," Helen added, smiling wide. The applause swelled. It sounded like a verdict. My throat tightened. I'd rehearsed being invisible my whole life, but tonight the cold reached somewhere deeper. I stood, the chair legs screeching against the floor, and heard my own voice slice through the noise. "I understand." The words came out sharper than I meant, brittle as ice cracking under a skate. The music halted. My mother's smile faltered, glass still midair. My father's camera lowered an inch. Jennifer's laugh died on her lips. I turned toward the exit, every step echoing louder than the applause had. My coat brushed against my arm. I could feel the corner of that transfer receipt still tucked in my pocket, pressing like a reminder. I reached the double doors. The crowd's chatter was rising again, polite discomfort filling the gaps. Then a voice cut through it. Deep, steady, older than all their performances combined. "Alara, wait!" I turned. My grandfather, Harold, had risen from his chair near the front. The rink's lighting cast a faint halo on his gray hair, his expression firm but unreadable. His voice carried without needing volume. "Stay for 30 seconds, he said, "and tell them what you've done." The rink went silent again. Glasses froze midair. Even the hum of the ice machine seemed to pause. Jennifer's hand stilled on her hip, Helen's jaw tightened. 30 seconds. I felt every eye turn to me. The family that never saw me now waiting for a show. The chill spread deeper, past skin, into bone. I walked back toward the rink's center slowly, each step tapping out years of swallowed words. My reflection slid across the ice beside me, faint and trembling. Harold's gaze didn't waver. Go on, he said quietly. 30 seconds, that's all he'd given me. But after a lifetime of silence, it would be enough. For a moment, no one moved. Only the faint hum of the ice machine filled the air, a low, mechanical heartbeat beneath the stillness. My palms were slick against the cover of the album I'd built for them, each page a memory I thought might finally count. I took a breath and looked at the crowd. You want to know what I've done? I said quietly, my voice carrying farther than I expected. Let's start with Jennifer's degree. Jennifer's smile froze, confusion flickering across her face. I paid for your advertising tuition, I said. 2 jobs, late shifts, freelancing after midnight. I covered the bills, while Mom and Dad called it a scholarship. Gasps rippled across the rink. My Aunt Cynthia lowered her glass. My cousin Scott straightened, brows knit. Helen blinked fast, her mouth forming a half-smile she couldn't sustain. That's not true, she said quickly. Your father and I, handled all of that. You're mistaken. Mistaken. The word landed like an insult and an excuse. I opened the album in my hands and pulled out 2 folded slips of paper, bank receipts, time-stamped years apart. I held them up, the rink lights flashing across the thin blue ink. These are transfers to Midtown College, from my account. I turned one page. And this one, a payment to a creative director named Mark Leland. I pitched Jennifer's portfolio to him at a finance conference. That's how she got her first brand deal. The silence deepened until even the music equipment hummed nervously. Jennifer's lips parted. You what? I wanted you to succeed, I said, my tone softening just a fraction. I thought if you had your shot, maybe Mom and Dad would stop measuring us like trophies. Helen's laugh was brittle. Alara, stop embarrassing yourself. You're twisting facts. You always did this. Made up stories when you felt left out. I could feel my pulse hammering in my ears, but Harold's gaze steadied me. He hadn't sat down. Do you remember when Dad was sick? I continued. When the hospital bills came after the surgery? $40,000, all paid before they reached collections. That was me too. The crowd murmured again, low, uncertain. Michael's camera strap slipped from his shoulder. He didn't raise it this time. His face had gone pale, his eyes fixed on the floor. I told myself it didn't matter, I went on, each word sharper now, cutting through the chill. That family means sacrifice. That love looks like keeping secrets. Jennifer shook her head, whispering to herself. Vanessa's phone lowered halfway, the record light fading. Cousin Scott stepped forward. I remember seeing transfers from Alara's account late at night, he said, his voice tentative but clear. I thought it was for your student loans, Jen. My aunt's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. Helen turned on him. You're mistaken too. Everyone's mistaken. Her denial cracked in the middle, brittle as the ice beneath our feet. I looked at her. You're good at pretending not to see, Mom. You did it my whole life. The rink lights flickered. I could hear my own breathing, ragged and steady all at once. I turned down a 6-figure job in Chicago because you said the family needed me close, I said. You said Dad couldn't handle the stress alone. So I stayed. I paid the bills. I watched Jennifer become everything you wanted while you called me practical, like it was a curse. Helen's hand trembled around her glass, the champagne trembling inside like liquid guilt. From the crowd, my cousin Rebecca spoke, voice soft but certain. I saw her. Late nights at the kitchen table, laptop open. Same code every winter. She's not lying. Helen's shoulders tightened. This isn't the time or place, she hissed, but her voice had lost its edge. Funny, I said. You didn't mind the timing when you erased me from your toast. A hush fell. I could see Jennifer blinking hard, her eyes glistening as she tried to find footing. I didn't know, she murmured. Alara, I didn't... It's fine, I said. You were just living the version they built for you. We all were. I looked down at the album still open in my hands. Smiling faces, graduations, holidays. So many pictures where I stood just out of frame or cropped at the shoulder. Do you want to know what else I've done? I said quietly. I saw the family account on your phone, Mom. The transfers labeled J.A. Creative. $15,000 last week. That's Jennifer's agency, isn't it? Helen's head snapped up. That's private. Uncle James' voice broke through, sharp and clear. Helen, is it true? She didn't answer. Her lips parted, then pressed shut. The room was so quiet I could hear the compressor rumble under the ice. I thought it was strange, I said, the receipts trembling slightly in my hand. Money meant for Dad's recovery, for emergencies, quietly rerouted to fund another ad campaign. You called it management fees, right? Helen took a step forward, her heels clicking against the wood. Enough. But the crowd wasn't with her anymore. Their faces had turned toward me, shocked, confused, waiting. For the first time in years, their silence didn't shrink me. It gave me room. Harold spoke again, his tone low and measured. Let her finish. I met my mother's eyes. You taught me to keep track of numbers, I said. I just never realized I'd need to keep them for evidence. Helen's glass slipped from her fingers. The sound of it shattering on the ice echoed through the rink. The glass scattered across the rink like broken stars, champagne pooling into tiny golden rivers that froze almost instantly. Helen just stared at it, maybe because cleaning it up meant admitting something had shattered. I didn't move, neither did anyone else. Then Harold stood. The chair legs screeched, the same sound my own had made when I first tried to leave. That money, he said slowly, was meant for all of you, not for showpieces and campaigns. Helen's head whipped toward him. Dad, this is not your place. It is exactly my place, Harold cut in, voice still calm but edged like steel. I funded that family account 30 years ago for emergencies and education. I didn't intend to bankroll your favorites. Gasps rippled through the relatives nearest the front. Someone's phone light flicked onto film, then quickly went dark again. Michael's voice broke the silence, rough and small. Helen, he told us to leave that money untouched after retirement. Her glare could have burned through ice. And you agreed, didn't you? She said through gritted teeth. He didn't answer. Harold continued, When I learned you'd moved $15,000 last week, I froze the account. You'll find your cards aren't working anymore. Helen's breath hitched. You what? The crowd buzzed, shocked whispers echoing off the rink walls. Jennifer looked from one face to another like she was trying to locate a safe reality. Dad, she whispered, voice trembling. You didn't... Harold's eyes softened when he turned toward her. I'm sorry, Jennifer. I should have stopped this long before tonight. Helen's voice rose an octave. You can't humiliate us like this. I stepped closer. You already did that, I said quietly, every time you chose appearance over truth. The rink lights flickered again, as if even the wiring was tired of pretending. Harold leaned on his cane, his expression unreadable. Alara isn't the villain here. She's been the balance sheet you've ignored. Helen laughed then, the kind of laugh that cracks under its own pitch. Oh, so now she's a martyr? What about the years she didn't call, the distance she created? Distance doesn't create itself, I said. Michael swallowed, his voice breaking through like a reluctant confession. I knew, Alara, about the tuition, the bills, all of it. His eyes were red-rimmed, heavy. I wanted to thank you, but Helen said it would just make things worse. That stung more than I expected, not because it was new, but because he thought silence counted as love. I didn't want to thank you, I said. I wanted honesty. Vanessa shifted uncomfortably near Jennifer, her earlier loyalty now radioactive. Maybe we should all... No, Harold said firmly. We finish this. The crowd stilled again. Helen's voice turned brittle. You think you're righteous, Alara? Throwing around receipts like daggers? I almost smiled. Receipts don't hurt unless they're true. Her face flushed red, the chill in the rink fogging around her words. You've been waiting to destroy us. No, I said. I've been waiting to stop pretending you didn't. Jennifer's shoulders sank, tears finally breaking through her mascara. I never meant to take from you, she whispered. I just thought they were proud. They were, I said softly, just not in the way that ever built anyone. Helen turned away, muttering something about betrayal. I felt my pulse slow for the first time all evening. Harold met my eyes and nodded once, a small gesture that felt like permission. I'm done, I said to the room, to all of them. Done proving, done covering, done paying the balance on someone else's story. The rink was silent except for the soft hum of the refrigeration coils below. I turned toward Harold. Thank you. He raised his chin. Go live your own numbers now, kiddo. I managed a smile, the first real one of the night. Then I walked to the door, my heels tapping over the ice-side boards, each step lighter than the last. The cold air hit me like clarity when I stepped outside. The night smelled of frost and pine sap, the world quiet in a way the rink never was. My phone buzzed. A notification from earlier, Chicago Finance Group, position still open. I stared at it, thumb hovering. Then I typed one word, yes. Behind me, the muffled sound of raised voices drifted through the rink doors, the sound of a house of cards finally collapsing. I slipped my phone into my pocket, the transfer receipts still inside, fluttering against the fabric like small, fragile wings. The ice was theirs. The freedom was mine. 6 months later, the only ice I saw was in my morning coffee. Chicago winter had a different kind of cold. Clean, purposeful, the kind that made you feel awake instead of erased. My new office sat on the 32nd floor of a glass tower overlooking the river. I'd traded family silence for spreadsheets, their hum for the quiet click of my keyboard. Here, numbers behaved. They told the truth. Every morning, I passed a framed photo on my desk, me and Grandpa Harold at his old workbench, his hand on my shoulder as we measured a plank of wood. He'd written on the back, "Balance sheets aren't about money, they're about character." I read it sometimes when I needed to steady my pulse. The night after the rink, everything in Detroit had splintered, the way I'd known it would. Harold's announcement had spread through the family like spilled ink. Helen's reputation, once pristine, curled at the edges. People whispered about the frozen account, the transfers, the lies. Uncle James called it financial misconduct. Aunt Cynthia called it karma. Jennifer lost her brand contract within weeks. The company quietly severed ties after rumors surfaced about creative inconsistencies. Her face disappeared from the billboards overnight, replaced by another smile, another daughter of someone else. Vanessa unfollowed her on social media 2 days later. Then came the messages. From Jennifer. "I didn't know they took from you. Please believe that. I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope you're okay." I read it once, twice, then archived it. From Mom. "Family doesn't air dirty laundry. What you did was cruel. You humiliated us." That one I deleted. From Dad. Nothing. Just a missed call I couldn't bring myself to return. The next week, Harold called. His voice was weaker, but still deliberate. "You did what I couldn't," he said. "You told the truth. I'm sorry it had to happen like that." "Don't be. Ice only looks perfect until it cracks. Then you see what's underneath." He coughed, paused. "Alara, don't mistake peace for permission. Sometimes quiet means they're plotting again. Sometimes it means they're finally listening." I smiled faintly. "You always did talk like a ledger with feelings." "That's because numbers don't lie," he said, a smile in his voice. "People do." After the call, I opened a folder on my computer labeled Keep. Screenshots, statements, copies of everything from that night. I wasn't hoarding evidence anymore. I was keeping proof for myself, proof that it happened, that I wasn't crazy. Kristen, my coworker and fast friend, leaned against my cubicle one morning, coffee in hand. "You still thinking about them?" she asked. "Sometimes," I admitted, "like phantom pain." She nodded. "You don't have to cut it off completely. Just don't let it rot." I laughed softly. "I'm not angry anymore, just uninterested." In March, a letter arrived at my apartment in Harold's handwriting. Slanted, deliberate. "Alara, I left something for you in the box under my workbench. You'll know what to do with it. H." The next weekend, I drove back to Detroit, the city skyline rising like an old bruise. His house smelled the same. Cedar, dust, the faint scent of oil. I found the box easily, a small wooden chest with brass hinges. Inside was the birdhouse we'd built when I was 12, on the base, carved faintly into the wood, "For when you finally fly." I sat on the floor, holding it in my lap until my hands stopped shaking. When I drove back to Chicago that night, I didn't stop by my parents' house. I saw the porch light flicker as I passed. Helen's silhouette in the window. She didn't wave. Neither did I. At home, I placed the birdhouse on my balcony railing. The city glowed beneath it, gold and electric. I imagined Harold somewhere above all of it, nodding in approval. The next morning, I woke to an email from an old coworker. Attached was a photo from a local newspaper. Helen and Michael, their faces tight beside the headline. "Community figure resigns after financial misconduct investigation." I didn't feel triumph, just silence, the kind that feels like closure, not revenge. That night, Kristen and I had dinner on my balcony. She pointed to the birdhouse. "That's new," she said. "It's old," I replied. "I just never used it right." We toasted with takeout wine and watched the city lights flicker. Somewhere in the distance, a train passed, its low hum steady and final. For the first time in years, I didn't need a receipt to prove what I'd survived. A year after the rink, the only reminders of my old life arrived in envelopes. One was from the courthouse, final paperwork confirming Harold's estate had been divided. The other, a smaller handwritten note, was from Michael. I hesitated before opening it. His handwriting had always been neat, methodical, the kind of penmanship that revealed nothing. Alara, I know silence can be cruel. I used it as protection, thinking neutrality meant peace. It didn't. I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope you understand that cowardice and love sometimes share the same mask. Dad. I read it twice, folded it once, and slipped it into my keep folder. Not out of sentiment, but completion. I didn't need to respond. Some apologies were receipts too, filed and closed. Life had a rhythm now. I woke before sunrise, made black coffee in the kitchen of my own apartment, and watched the city stretch awake below. I'd started volunteering on weekends, helping women rebuild credit scores after divorce or family debt. Sometimes they cried when they realized numbers could be a form of freedom. I knew that feeling well. Kristen came by one Friday with news. Your mom's been quiet, she said carefully. The community board reinstated her membership. People have short memories. I shrugged. She'll always land on her feet. She made sure she learned how to. Kristen leaned against the counter. Do you ever think about calling her? I did, sometimes. Then I remembered the look on her face when she called me cruel for telling the truth. No, I said finally. I think about peace more than closure. That weekend, another letter arrived, this one from Jennifer. The envelope was pink, the handwriting messy, like she'd written it in a hurry. Alara, I'm working at a marketing firm now. Not glamorous, but honest work. I miss you. I miss when we were little, before all the comparisons. I know I can't undo what happened, but if you ever want to meet for coffee, I'll be there. Jen. I stared at the note for a long time. The paper smelled faintly of vanilla lotion, the same kind she used in high school. That night, I sat on my balcony with the birdhouse Harold left me. The city spread below like circuitry. I thought about everything I'd built since that night. My job, my quiet, my own chosen family of friends who knew how to stay. The next morning, I wrote a reply. Jen, I'm glad you're okay. Maybe someday coffee, but not yet. Some wounds need to heal where no one can watch. E. I didn't mail it. I slipped it into the back of the birdhouse between the wood and the sky. By spring, I bought a new chair for my balcony, a molded white plastic one, the same kind that had scraped across the rink floor that night. Only this time, it didn't screech. It just settled. Some evenings, I'd sit there with my laptop, wind brushing against the curtains, the birdhouse steady beside me. The skyline shimmered in the distance. All glass and forgiveness I didn't owe anyone. The past had stopped feeling like a bruise. It was more like a scar, faded, but real enough to remind me what I survived. I'd kept a few things from that night. Harold's note, Dad's letter, the receipts, the broken champagne cork I'd stepped on outside the rink. Proof of a ledger closed. But what I left behind, the need to be seen, the ache for approval, that was the real inheritance. Sometimes, when the city was quiet and the streetlights hummed, I'd whisper the words I never got to say at that party. I wasn't invisible, you just refused to look. Then I'd breathe, sip my coffee, and let it all go. Because healing, I'd learned, wasn't loud. It was sitting in a plastic chair on a calm night, realizing you never needed their applause to exist.